Bienvenidos a una edición más de los conversatorios de Percusión Costa Rica. Mi nombre es Juan José. Hoy tenemos pues un invitado muy especial. De verdad que yo estoy sorprendido de poder tener el chance de compartir con todos y todas ustedes pues el invitado que tenemos en esta en esta tarde y esta noche para él allá en Grecia. Bueno, sí, en Grecia. Pues nada más, pues recordarles que pueden hacer sus preguntas, ya sea en el Facebook Live, en la transmisión, o aquí por Zoom. Más bien, los invito a que aprovechen el espacio que vamos a compartir hoy y recordarles que bueno, la entrevista o el conversatorio se va a realizar en inglés con traducciones en medio del camino. Este, Nada más, pues recordarles que eso va a ser algo que vamos a estar haciendo. Entonces, eh, vamos a iniciar ya. Creo que todo está listo y, ok. Thank you for coming today, Theodore. It's a pleasure to have you here, and we welcome you to Percusión Costa Rica. So, welcome.
Thank you very much, Juan. Thank you, and pleasure, honor to be with you guys in this podcast. Thank you very much. I will be speaking quite soft right now and slow because it's pretty late here in Greece, but I hope it's fine. Another thing, my monitor is on my left, so sometimes it doesn't mean that I don't pay attention. It's just sometimes to look at you. Thank you.
Yeah, that happens. Yeah, like my camera is right here, but I need to watch
Right.
here. So
Exactly.
we know how this works.
Exactly.
So I was telling people that the interview is gonna be in English, so we might have to stop for a little while so I can translate back to
Okay.
Spanish.
Yeah.
But it's fine. We've done this before, and it always works. So first of all, we're gonna start with the question that we ask every guest that we have. How did it all start, and how did you become interested in percussion?
Well, typical. I think most. I mean, my family we are all musicians. My mother is a violin player. My father is a percussionist, and they just noticed that I was since a little kid, and that's still in Russia, in Moscow. I'm from Russia. The whole family is from Moscow. So back then, when I was like 4 or 5 or something, they noticed that I could play some rhythms. So because music will be around in the house constantly, right? So I remember like very early memories, like my mother would be playing, like practicing, you know. So and we were listening to records, of course, all kind of music, and I will be doing rhythms with the music. So they thought, okay, why not? Why don't we try percussion? And that's it. And then in '91 we moved to Greece, and yeah, I started percussion in the music school when my parents were teaching, and there was also an orchestra back then, a chamber orchestra where my mother would be working, and and this is how I started. At the age of 7, I think 7.5, somewhere there, I started playing percussion. So that's the story. That's how it started.
Okay, I'm gonna translate real quick now.
Oh.
Entonces él nos está comentando que bueno, inicia sus estudios o por lo menos su interés en la música cuando él estaba en Rusia, ¿verdad? Y que sus padres eran violinistas y percusionistas y que bueno, le descubrieron que haciendo ritmos les pareció como una buena idea ponerlo a estudiar percusión y que a eso del principio de los 90, el 91, se mudaron a Grecia y ahí empezó a estudiar en una escuela de música y con una orquesta de cámara que había por ahí también. Entonces, esa es como la forma en la que inició. Awesome. So we do have some questions in our little list.
Okay.
But we always tell people to, if they have a question, they can just raise their hand and send it. So let me just double check here. Uh, so of all the percussion instruments, um, what made you go into the marimba more than any other?
Ah, well, it's not more at all.
Oh,
It's just people know me as a marimba player, but in fact, I'm an orchestra player. I'm in orchestra already. This is my 14th season. So 14 years I'm in the orchestra. Before that, all my life, actually all my life, since I mean, pretty much, I was always on stage, but I didn't have this transition from a student into professional life. Like, like I got after college, I got a job, and I got professional. I mean, I was playing already with here in Greece with orchestras and with ensembles, with contemporary music projects since I was 16 years old. And my background is actually contemporary music. Yeah, so of course people got to know me through transcriptions because probably it was something completely new and everything that I shown it was something new. But my background, as I said, is a contemporary music, so it's a lot of setups, all kind of setups, a lot of sight reading with ensemble. So not when I say ensemble, I don't mean percussion ensemble. I mean with other instruments. Back then, like middle to late 90s, beginning of 2000s, here in Greece we had a lot of going on with concerts and music in general. And there was this wonderful composer, a Greek composer, Theodor Antoniou, and he was a he will teach in Boston University for I think 35, 40 years or something. And as well here in Greece, so he will be 6 months there and 6 months here. And when he will be here, there was, and still is, he will be the president of the Greek Composer Union. And in this union, there will be a contemporary ensemble. And we will be giving concerts regularly, like every month. Yeah, it's like one project a month regularly, which for Greece, that time it was pretty a lot. And we'll have local festivals as well. So I was 16, 17, and I will be playing with this ensemble, and my father will be playing with this ensemble as well. And so this is my background. And then I went to for my studies in Germany, in Detmold, with Professor Peter Prommel. And then we discovered, it came to me, I got very interested in marimba. I will be playing it before here in Greece already. I will have a little, until F marimba from Bulgaria. And it's a handmade with some PVC resonators, and the wood was from acacia. And yeah, and I will be playing all kind of. I started to play marimba actually when I was 16. Yeah, so before it was mainly xylophone and setups and of course timpani and snare drum and all that. So from the age 16 to 18, and then when I went for my studies in Germany, I played the major, I could play the major pieces for marimba. So Merlin, Ultimatum by Nebosha, of course the Rosauro Concerto and Keiko Abe pieces and all of that. So in 2 years I did a lot of repertoire. And then later on, during my studies, I will be gigging a lot in the Radio Kammerphilharmonie in Amsterdam, where my professor Peter Probel at the time he will be working. He was a solo percussionist and timpanist, I think assistant timpanist at that orchestra. And this orchestra will be covering like from Baroque time to contemporary, this kind of two sides. So I will be playing with Reinbert de Leeuw, the conductor, the Peter Otwes, the famous Peter Otwes, right, and some other contemporary famous people. So I will be always around contemporary music, right? And it's only until like after 2006 when I put my first Scarlatti videos out that people kind of pay attention on me as a marimba player. So I kind of sticked out because of that. I mean, yes, I'll be playing the traditional marimba rep, and yeah, pretty good apparently. But it was, yeah, yeah. People will say that okay, you're more of a marimba player, but that will be among students, because all of my gigs and everything will be with contemporary music, or orchestra music, and later on with Scarlatti it kind of started, but I don't know, I pretty much enjoy playing timpani if I have some gigs around, and I used to execute for 5 seasons as solo timpanist in my orchestra, in Athens State Orchestra, and yeah, so I pretty much enjoy everything with percussion, except I'm not good with hand percussion. I cannot play at all with with fingers or hands. But I enjoy pretty much everything. I enjoy very much snare drum playing, and of course I love sight reading when I get a gig with contemporary music. I just love that, just go for the gig and just sight read, to have this adrenaline of something new that you don't know, and so yeah, as I said, marimba, it just happened. It's not that I don't consider myself a marimba player. I don't consider myself at all. It's just what people know me for.
Yeah, well, I was in the amount of people that got to know your work through the marimba videos.
Oh,
Um,
definitely, yeah, of course.
yeah, it's an interesting thing to hear that you don't consider yourself a marimba player more than just like
No,
an
no,
all
no,
around
not at
percussionist.
all.
Yeah.
Yes, of course, yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna translate this real
Yeah,
quick.
yeah, yeah. It's a long answer. Sorry.
Um, Entonces él está comentando que pues él no se considera un marimbista solamente, ¿verdad? Sino que también se considera un percusionista en general, que el trasfondo de él viene más de todos los demás instrumentos, tímpani, redoblante. Lo que pasa es que él se dio a conocer mucho en estos lados por acá por los videos que él hizo de transcripciones de Scarlatti por ahí del 2006, 2007, ¿verdad? Entonces él está comentando un poco de este viaje donde él empezó a estudiar con diferentes profesores en diferentes lugares y eh, eso le permitió a él tener acceso a muchas pues enseñanzas diferentes, instrumentos diferentes. También, aunque él comentaba que de antes él estudiaba también marimba, con una marimba pequeña que llegaba hasta un fa, que estaba hecha de acacia, las teclas, y siempre tuvo también la posibilidad de estar expuesto a música contemporánea, y que eso casualmente es lo que más le gusta, y que él disfruta mucho leer a primera vista música contemporánea, lo cual estoy seguro que a muchos de nosotros pues tal vez nos asuste un poco, pues yo sé que a mí me asusta un poco, pero que él lo disfruta mucho, ¿verdad? Entonces, vamos a ver qué más se me fue por acá, y que antes él solía tocar mayormente xilófono y multipercusión, y que conforme él fue pues estudiando, fue tocando todo el repertorio estándar de los conciertos de Rosauro, Ultimatum, Merlin, todas estas cuestiones que son como más estándar en el repertorio. Y que sí, esa es como, bueno, es que él dijo un montón de cosas aquí, después voy leyendo la transcripción, pero ese es como el resumen, digamos, que la pregunta que yo le había hecho era que fue lo que lo llamó más hacia la marimba, y lo que él me comenta es que lo que pasa es que la gente lo conoce más por las cuestiones de marimba, pero que él se desarrolla en todos los demás aspectos. Entonces, una pregunta para todos, no sé si les parece continuar con la traducción así, o si podemos continuarla en inglés. A mí me gusta hacer esto para las personas que tal vez no hablen inglés, pero cualquier cosa me pueden avisar por allá, y que si tienen preguntas, porfa, que las manden, porque estoy seguro que él tiene muchas ganas como de tocar marimba para que ustedes vean lo que se puede comentar. Okay, awesome. Yeah, so we're gonna go into a little bit more, maybe specific questions. Um, I wanted to talk about your experience as a teacher. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
uh, what what are just a minute. got a question. No, not a question. We got a little comment here. Um,
Okay.
okay, yeah, it's about the translations. People want the translations. Okay, so let me see. So, from your perspective as a teacher and your experience as a teacher, what have been like the most common issues that students have in general that you've
Oh,
encountered?
oh, um, that's a good one. Um, I will say that um, hmm, it's difficult. It's difficult to answer um, because I think the biggest issue is not on students. The biggest issue is on teachers because we don't have. I don't see that there is a certain conceptual thinking. When I say that, let me give you an example. We have, let's say, we have a couple of directions that percussionists can take. First of all, orchestra playing. Second, teaching. Third, it's kind of semi. You know, you can play solo concerts, but you cannot really make a living out of that, right? So it's kind of teacher slash playing, but mainly teaching. So we have, so if it's, and everybody wants to win a competition. So if somebody is towards marimba playing, their aim is to win a competition, which I never understood why. But I was like this as well. You know, when I was young, I also wanted to win. I never did. I won only one competition in my life when I was 13. That was in Germany. And that happened, I don't know how it happened, but I got, in my category, I got the prize. But it kind of determined that I'm gonna be a professional percussionist because then I understood that I'm actually good at it. You know, it was the first time that it was very clear for me. So it was a good thing. But after that, yeah, so let me go back to teachers. When I say conceptual, is that every teacher has a certain result in the mind, and they will do everything for this result. So let's say they need a certain sound, or they need a certain, clarity. That I hear constantly, clarity. How to have clarity when you play. How to be accurate, and how to be this, and how to be that. And they want to reach that via an enormous push, both psychological and physical. There is not a certain, I would say, conceptual thinking that will establish a certain way in order to reach that goal. So that's why you see all kind of players. If you actually analyze that, which kind of players we do have, you look at them and you think, oh my God, how is this possible? Because they're all they're all tensed. And this we see among students, like 80 to 90% of them. Because they have a certain goal and the teacher is pushing. You have to practice, you have to practice, you have to practice. We need clarity. Now, how to reach this quality? Which kind of muscles, a student need to work with, Because we have many muscles. Which muscles are we going to use? Which physique is good? Which technique is good for this particular student based on physique, because we have all different physiques, We're not the same muscle. We probably have the same muscles, but the physique is quite different. What's good for you is not good for me at all. And, I let's say with timpani playing, I've changed like 5 grips or something, if I can say so, until I found something which will work for me, right? So this aim for result, right, without a conceptual thinking, lead us to a point that we're very much narrow focused players. So when I see students, I see a huge lack of, of, of musical knowledge in general, which includes form analysis, harmonic analysis, and any kind of character thinking. You know, all percussionists think in dynamics. You know, and when we say phrase, they say do a little crescendo or a diminuendo. That's not it. That's not phrasing, right? If you do crescendo, it doesn't mean that you phrase. You just do a crescendo. But students usually they don't see the difference with these things, right? Or the biggest thing that I observe is that no student, I mean, yeah, in my experience, I haven't met any student who will think in touché, what French people call touché as pianists, you know, the touch. Usually percussionists thinking in terms of strokes, like which kind of stroke are you doing, you know, like downstroke, upstroke, you know, rotation or whatever, which in my understanding, you know, I don't think in strokes. So when a student tells me, you know, here I start with an upstroke, I just don't get it, you know, because when I see a score, I think in phrasing, right? And if it's a phrasing, it's like when you speak, you know, each letter has a different touché, has a different pronunciation, right? Each of it within a word even, and then of course within a phrase, right? So this actually right here starts a conceptual thinking, because if you think music as a speech, right, then you will never think in strokes, because you need to explain to the student how, you know, how the system works, right? So that's it. And it will be wrong to say that I see no music, because even you know, even when you play pop music, which is doom, doom, it's still music, right? It is still music. You cannot say that this is unmusical and this is not music. It is music. So it's wrong to say that most of percussion are unmusical. No. But I think that what I say, the lack of conceptual thinking, it's what I miss, right? Because their playing it's not a 3D as the music should be. You know, it's more of a 1D actually. You know, especially you get that with orchestra-oriented players, because the maximum that they're focusing on is how to get a job. So what I notice is that most of teachers, they're teaching you how to win auditions, right? So then when I play with these people, I understand that I see that they have basically zero understanding on chamber music. Chamber music is not when we agreed on something and we're doing that. That's not chamber music. You know, chamber music is when I have a musical idea and I'm proposing it to you via playing. So I'm expecting a response from you, and all of that is milliseconds, right? So this is chamber music. You understand? So that's another thing that I notice very much with students, that there is no chamber music. They don't actually listen what's going on around them. But even if you tell them you have to listen, they don't understand what you mean. Because, you know, if the student cannot tell you, of course he's going to tell you, or she, yeah, I hear the other person playing, yeah, of course, because, you know, they're not deaf, right? They don't hear, but they need to know what to hear, right, and how to react to all of that. So, and I can go on and on and on and on that, because my mother is a violin player, so I grew up through a paradigm of violin players. I will see how she will work with little kids, and I will see how how will masterclass. You know, I remember in Greece we will have a masterclass by Igor Oistrach. You know, the son of the legendary David Oistrach, and you know, we will have some legendary people coming up. Oleg Krysa was here as well. He's a professor at Eastman, or at least was. I don't know how old is he. Maybe he retired already. You know, and I remember the things that they will speak with the students and how they will speak. So it's a completely different world, and of course everything starts from the repertoire that we play, and it's a long story. So I always say that I always say when I teach somebody that, guys, if you have some time, I know that you don't, but it's good to invest some time to have among string players, mostly because they have the complete thing. They have the solo rep, they have the chamber music repertoire, right? Like quartets, trio, piano trio, you know, quintets, whatever, and they also have an orchestra as a larger ensemble, right? So they have it all. So to spend time with them, to understand how they think, how they practice, etc., 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 that's super helpful. Because to be honest, you know, to teach that you know, that's nothing, right? So in general, as I said, a lack of conceptual thinking, yes, but mainly the lack of musical knowledge, I will say. That's the main thing that I say.
Okay, thank you. That was a really great answer.
Sorry, that's too long, man.
Oh no, no, it's fine.
I cannot make it shorter. Sorry
Oh
for
no,
that.
no, it's fine. It's fine. I'm just gonna ask you to see if I got the whole picture, because
Okay, okay.
you said that the problem is not always on the student; it's mostly on the teachers and what they
Yes,
teach, right?
yes, of
And
course,
the
of
things
course.
they focus on, like competitions, getting a job, right?
Yeah, 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 of course.
And the other thing that you found out is that the lack of musical context for the students, right? How they are not exposed to working with other musicians and working on their touch,
Yeah,
and how that affects the way they play, and the misconceptions on phrasing and other musical terms. Is that uh,
yeah,
like
absolutely.
the summary of of your ideas?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
the bullet points. Yes, yes.
Okay, awesome. Entonces, la pregunta que le hice fue qué retos ha encontrado él como profesor en los estudiantes, ¿verdad? Entonces él me está comentando que a veces el problema no es más que todos los estudiantes, sino que es un problema mucho más de los profesores, en el sentido de que a veces se concentran en las metas equivocadas, conseguir un trabajo, tocar tal pieza, una cosa así, ¿verdad? Entonces se concentran como en puntos específicos y dejan por fuera las cuestiones que son más importantes, ¿verdad? Por ejemplo, él menciona que él ha encontrado estudiantes donde la mayor cuestión que pasa es la falta de contexto musical. La confusión de sobre qué significa frasear, por ejemplo, que frasear se nos ha enseñado, o por lo menos lo hemos visto muchas veces, que es como, toque con un poquito más de volumen cuando sube, cuando baja, una cosa así, que en realidad eso no es fraseo, ¿verdad? Él se refiere a un concepto que llaman toque bueno, yo no puedo decir esta palabra en francés, no me sale, pero el touch a la hora de tocar, ¿verdad? Que esto es algo que se desarrolla conforme usted tiene un mejor contexto musical. Por ejemplo, cuando usted trabaja en música de cámara y no significa yo toco esto, usted toca esto y nos fuimos en eso, sino como que esta es una idea que yo le voy a presentar a usted y usted me contesta con otra idea, y que es una cuestión de milisegundos, ¿verdad? Pero él también menciona que hace falta mucha idea, digamos, de contexto musical, y que él recomienda que si, digamos, se tiene la oportunidad, vayan y compartan con los instrumentistas de cuerdas, porque ellos tienen todo el paquete completo, ¿verdad? Ellos tienen repertorio solista, tienen repertorio de música de cámara, de orquesta y cosas así, que está hecho para trabajar con los demás y fomentar un contexto musical mucho más amplio que nos va a funcionar. Él también mencionaba algo de las competencias, pero creo que se me fue por ahí, que a veces hay profesores que están muy enfocados en ganar competencias, ¿verdad? Y este es otro tema que vamos a tocar ahorita más adelante. Pero creo que ese es como el resumen de las ideas que él dio. Eh, y de nuevo, si tienen alguna pregunta sobre este tema para ahondar un poquito más, pueden dejarla por aquí por el chat, o si nos están viendo en Facebook Live también nos pueden dejar la pregunta por ahí. Awesome. So, okay, let me see. We have another question for around here. So I wanted to go back to some of the things that you mentioned. I wanted to go back to competitions and to chamber music. So I'm gonna go with chamber music first. So what would be a good approach to chamber music? Because I kind of mostly want to go further with your concept of, here's an idea, let's work like to see what it's your answer to this idea. So how would you approach teaching about chamber music in this different point of view? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I understand, but it's, as I say, it should be conceptual. Meaning, can you imagine an actor who never read Pushkin, Lermontov, or T.S. Eliot? Can you imagine that?
Would be hard
I
to
think
do.
no.
Yeah.
I think no. I mean, probably there are people like that, definitely, but I don't think they're very good and deep actors, right? So we have to start with the repertoire, because all my life I will be like against transcriptions. I'll say, because my father will be doing contemporary music, I will be into contemporary music. I'll say we have contemporary, we have our own. Why should we always play these Bach stuff and whatever on xylophone and marimba, and that's stupid, and we have our own stuff. Well, you have to. If you really want to learn, if you really want to be a musician, you have to, because it's not about transcribing, it's about getting connected with the language. You understand? So if you never have experienced Marine Marais by playing it, I mean, everybody knows Bach, but that's only one dude in the whole Baroque stuff. That's only one dude. There are many other guys there, or girls, who wrote some incredible stuff, So get to know that. It's a language. Most of marimba players, they don't even know what emiolen. They don't know what is this, which is a basic element in a three-way playing, the 3/8 or 6/8, and then the cadenza. Where is the cadenza? Oops. Right? Questions rising. You need to know. You need to be able to analyze the harmony. You need to be able to analyze the form. Right? Which form am I playing? Etc. etc. Which style am I playing? Is the French Baroque, which is a bit more triplet feeling? If it's a German Baroque, is it the Italian Baroque? Italian Baroque, they went so far away from everybody else. That's why they developed the instruments, and and that's why you got the Stradivari later on, of course. Stradivari Guarnerian of his, and the Italian bow was longer than the French bow. Why? Because Italian phrasing was longer. You know Bach, but do you know Vivaldi? Yeah, probably you know Vivaldi, but you don't know that Vivaldi was before Bach, or even if you know it, it doesn't occur to you, to most of people. But if you analyze Vivaldi's music, the phrasing is much longer than Bach's, right? That's why they had bigger bows. So by knowing all of that, you know how to interpret the music. You know, because I've heard some stuff like, why should we play cellists like cellists? We are marimba players, you know, we have our own instrument, you know, and like some like ridiculous stuff like that, you know. So before you start playing chamber, I mean, yes, chamber music, but one has to go through transcriptions. Mm-hmm. Because this is our, you know, this is our history. It's the same like in life, man. You cannot make future if you don't know the past, mm-hmm. Right? I mean, that makes no sense. I mean, yeah, there are people, you know, who don't really care about the, you know, about the past, and they don't really read history and whatever, and they don't really care. There are mm-hmm. other people who don't care about traditions. I'm not a tradition pro person, right? I'm always balancing mm-hmm. tradition, innovation, you know. But innovation cannot be without tradition. I mean, that's not possible, right? That's not possible. Mm-hmm. So the more knowledge you have, the more intellectual you are as a musician. And then when you sit to play with other musicians, you know, you see it with the baggage of this knowledge. You can't, because as I say, we as percussionists, we are rhythm-orientated players. It's rhythm, and when we say rhythm, we mean groove. You know, if you like 80% what's written in the past 15 years, it's about groove. Any marimba concerto, any marimba piece, any this, any that, it's all about boom, pa boom, pa pam, tu tum, tu ka ta ka ta ka. You know, it's all about groove. And all of a sudden, you go and play with the flutist. You know, play bolero. You know, have you ever played bolero in an orchestra? It will blow your mind from the first 5 bars. Why? Because every percussionist is practicing with the metronome to be exactly accurate. You know, and then you go in an orchestra, and you feel the violas going dum, dum. Dun, 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 dun. They're phrasing. They are in tempo. Mm-hmm. They're not rushing. They're not dragging, but they're phrasing. For them, rhythm is a melody. Mm. For us, rhythm is a certain abstract thing which is absolutely vertical. So I think there is a certain, you know, different perspective of music in general. You know, that's why we cannot get along very much with strings or with woodwinds. It's very difficult for us, you know. So, you know, so by knowing all that, you know, one has to go through transcriptions, and then of course one has to play with woodwinds as a duet, or you know, or with string players, you know. And if possible, you know, it will be very fun to have. To be the second violin in a quartet and to play it on vibraphone. Try that. Just try that. Just to play one note with them, because we as percussionists, I don't know if you have seen that. I mean, probably, of course you did. You do have seen that, but we don't notice it because it's so natural for us to go 1, 2, bling. Have you ever seen a string quartet in a Beethoven quartet going pa pam pa pa pa? No, they just start playing. They don't go 1, 2, and why? Because they have a certain musical idea there, all together, and only us as percussionists, we're going 3, 4, bling, and usually it's a plum, right? And then we start discussing about, is it a downstroke or is it an upstroke, or you know, it actually doesn't matter. This is conceptual thinking. You know, and I remember we had some guys from Africa, and they will play djembe, and they will teach us that's in Holland already. When I was studying in Holland, and they will teach us how to play some of their calls or whatever how they call it, and they gave us some rhythms, and I said, okay, let's start playing, pa 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 pa, and we were whoa. I said, what's wrong? I said, are you gonna count? And they were like, count? Yeah, like in 3 and 4, said, yeah, no, it's in 4. Okay, count. Said, 1, 2, 3, 4. Pam, pa, pam, pam. Whoa. Which tempo? And, you know, he couldn't get it. He said, what do you mean, which tempo? Right? So he knows the rhythms as a certain melody and is a certain speech in a certain way. So for him, this particular song has a certain tempo, time, whatever you name it, you know. And for us as the classical musicians, we need, you know, percussionists, right? We need to know the upbeat and all of the tempi and blah blah blah. So we are outside. We're constantly outside music. You know, we're on the rhythm, right? So yeah, I'll say go through transcriptions, you know, and try to see rhythm as musical lines, and try to learn that from string players, you know. I will suggest that. You know.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. All right. Just a second. Because we do have a question from one of the people in this room now, so we'll
Definitely,
go,
yes.
or you can just look at it in the chat right now while I translate if you want. Ok, entonces, bueno, la pregunta era cómo podemos o cómo puede él, cómo recomienda él pues acercarse más a esta cuestión de llegar a ese punto en la música de cámara en la que vamos más allá de yo toco esto, usted toca esto y se acabó el problema. Entonces él comenta que una de las cosas más importantes es, de nuevo, pues prácticamente hundirse en el contexto musical que necesitamos para poder generar estos conceptos, empezando por las transcripciones. Él menciona cómo hay personas que tal vez dicen que como percusionistas o marimbistas o cosas así no le ven muy bien, no ven con buenos ojos enfocarse tanto en transcripciones y en música barroca o de clásica, ¿verdad? Porque pues tenemos nuestro propio repertorio, ¿verdad? Pero él menciona que es importante tener un balance porque no puede haber innovación sin tradición, ¿verdad? Entonces es importante que uno pase por toda esta, pues todo este proceso musical que ha habido antes de nuestro tiempo, digamos, que cimenta las bases, perdón, de lo que tenemos hoy, porque muchos de los conceptos que se necesitan para una interpretación adecuada y un buen contexto musical están en todo este repertorio que muchísima gente ha trabajado muchísimo antes que todos nosotros y ha desarrollado a niveles que pues nosotros en estos momentos no podríamos empezar a desarrollar. Porque, bueno, él menciona la diferencia entre Bach y Vivaldi, ¿verdad? Entonces, que como los fraseos de Vivaldi son diferentes que los de Bach, y si usted sabe por qué es eso, ¿verdad? Entonces es una cuestión de mucho estudio personal, de mucho estudio histórico, de mucho estudio contextual, ¿verdad? De que por qué las cosas se tocan de cierta forma y cómo los arcos... ay, se me enredaron, creo que eran los arcos que se utilizaban para tocar, unos eran más largos, otros eran más cortos, porque los fraseos de un compositor eran diferentes de los de otro compositor, porque eran de lugares diferentes, entonces el contexto era diferente. Entonces es como aquí ya lo estoy haciendo yo como algo parecido, digamos, mi interpretación es que es como una caja de herramientas, que mientras más herramientas nosotros conozcamos y entendamos cómo funcionan, nos va a ayudar a nosotros generar un resultado mucho más desarrollado, ¿verdad? Y creo que no se me escapan algunas cosas, pero déjeme revisar la transcripción aquí. Bueno, es ir más allá, digamos, de las cuestiones del ritmo de nosotros, que él comenta cómo él se ha visto en su entorno que todos los músicos es 1, 2, 3, 4, los percusionistas 1, 2, 3, 4 y tocamos, ¿verdad? Y que como por ejemplo los cuerdistas no tienen eso, los cuerdistas es de una vez a lo que vinimos, ¿verdad? Porque ellos ya tienen todo este lenguaje desarrollado, y él hace también la nota de que por ejemplo el contexto importa mucho, porque estaba mencionando unos músicos de África que pues empezaron a tocar con un llamado y vámonos, nada de 1, 2, 3, 4, y ellos se quedaron como, bueno, pero no van a contar antes, y él es como, bueno, 1, 2, 3, 4 y a una velocidad diferente, y no, pero ¿cuál es el tempo, verdad? Entonces el contexto importa mucho, verdad, porque hay diferentes músicas en todos lados, verdad, y lo importante es poder estar expuesto y estudiar estas diferentes manifestaciones, porque todo eso nutre su contexto musical, ¿verdad? Entonces más o menos va por ese lado. All right, so we have a question. Tenemos una pregunta que nos manda Fabián Fonseca. Muchas gracias, Fabián. Voy a traducirla. I'm going to translate it first and then entonces la pregunta que él hace es, bueno, él saluda aquí. Hola, Theodor, muchas gracias. Bueno, es muy bonito escuchar sobre su experiencia. Tengo una pregunta. ¿Considera que la preocupación del percusionista de tener una aplicación impecable de los rudimentos en la música académica o popular debería ser transformada o concentrarse más en la musicalidad de cada género o de acuerdo a las capacidades físicas de cada persona? Pero, ¿cómo considera en su experiencia como profesor que un balance puede ser generado para tener confort en la ejecución y un buen sonido? So that's the question. Hello, Theodore. Nice to hear about your experience. I have a question. Do you consider that the concern of a percussionist to have an impeccable application of rudiments in academic or popular music should be transformed or concentrate more on the musicality of each genre or according to people's physical capacities? But how do you consider in your experience as a teacher that a balance can be generated to have comfort in execution and a good sound?
I don't get it. Why? I don't get the question. So either good sound or good technique? Is that's the question?
No entiendo muy bien la pregunta, Fabián. Él pregunta que si es.
Well, I tell you why. Because for me, rudiments is just mechanic. It's just mechanics, right? So it's just a tool. So yes, they have to be freaking amazing, because then you're just using it for your music. I don't consider I would say. So for me, every what's called technique, I'm calling it mechanics, because for me technique it's a combination of many things. It's your musicality, it's your sound, you know, and the mechanics in general that you use. That's your technique, yeah. So for me, let's say Muller rudiments or fingers, wrists, rotations, arms, whatever. They're just tools that you're using in order to play music, right? I don't put them aside. I don't say concentrate more on music. First of all, what does it mean? What does it mean concentrate on music? It's like I don't know. Let's fake that we cannot play the notes, but we're very emotional. You know what I mean? It sounds a bit like that. It's like, you know, my technique is shit, but I'm very musical. You know, it's like, well, let's put them together. You know, that's how I see it. And with students, yeah, I spend a lot of time on scales and stuff, and when it comes to marimba, or some exercises on snare drum, like hardcore, like till they die. You know, that they cannot even they cannot even hear of scales, so they got immediate, you know, I cannot have it. And I do it deliberately because I want them to have tools in their hands, you know, in order to express themselves freely without thinking. Like, I want this sound, boom, I want this sound, bam, you know, without overthinking. Or there is another thing that, you know, many players, they go upon what they can. So their musicality is based on what they can. Yeah, like my musicality is based on what I want, right? And I will do everything for it to reach that point. And, you know, I will never present a piece until I've reached that point. You understand? So I will find the way, I will find the correct mechanics, the tools, or whatever it takes in order to put my musical ideas, you know, on the instrument. There a big percentage of people, of players, they go the other way around. What can I do? Mm-hmm. You know, that's the piece, that's Merlin, okay? What can I do to play this passage? It will sound like this because this is what I can. you know, and it's just a different thinking. So I'll say you have to see rudiments or any other techniques that exist out there just as tools for your baggage in order to play your music. Because then you can have any crazy musical idea you want to have, and you're able to, you know, to put it out. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I answered if I understood the question correctly, actually. So if not, just let me know, and let me repeat, you know, find another way.
Yeah. Let's see if that answered the question. Fabián, eso contesta su pregunta. Sí. Yes, great answer. Thank you. So yeah, so now I'm gonna translate this real quick. Entonces, la pregunta es, bueno, el resumen de la respuesta es que para lograr este balance hay que ver a los rudimentos o la técnica como una herramienta para lograr el tipo de musicalidad que uno quiere. Él dice que hay, o sea, muchos músicos lo que hacemos es preguntarnos qué podemos hacer con lo que tenemos para lograr la musicalidad que podemos, ¿verdad? Él dice que él trabaja de forma en que se pueda lograr la musicalidad que él quiere cuando él se pone a sacar música, digamos. Pero para lograr esto, pues utiliza las herramientas, en este caso la técnica, para lograr ese balance entre lo que él quiere y lo que la pieza requiere y cosas así, ¿verdad? Entonces, esa era más o menos la pregunta que tenía Fabián. Entonces, muchas gracias, Fabián, por su respuesta. Ahora, quería comentarles rápidamente que ya tenemos una horita, no teníamos un horario definido de cuánto iba a durar el conversatorio, pero allá son las 12 de la noche o un poquito antes o un poquito después, son como, no estoy muy consciente qué hora es, pero si les queda alguna pregunta, porfa, mándenla porque puede ser que nos quede un poquito de tiempo ya, ¿verdad? Entonces, para que lo tengan presente. Okay, we do have another question.
Sure, let's do it.
And this is a big one.
Okay.
And it's in Spanish, so I'm going to read it first and then I'll translate. Dice Juan Carlos Espinosa que muchas gracias y a Theodor, y dice: concuerdo que el enfoque de las escuelas de música está muchas veces mal enfocado desde la misma academia, y en definitiva proveer a los estudiantes de buenos y sólidos fundamentos musicales debería ser la prioridad de cualquier escuela, puesto que la carencia de estos fundamentos afecta la comprensión musical de la interpretación que se está llevando a cabo en cualquier instrumento. En ese sentido, las escuelas deberían de tratar de formar al mejor músico posible en primera instancia por encima de la simple formación de un percusionista. Tomando en cuenta esta importante reflexión que usted nos hace, varios comentarios y preguntas. ¿Sí considera que esa formación integral del músico percusionista debe ser una ocupación de las escuelas de música en general y no solo de los departamentos de percusión? Sí, en atención a eso, ¿qué se puede hacer desde los departamentos de percusión para modificar la enseñanza y enfocar en desarrollar esas herramientas? Por ejemplo, siguiendo su práctica de someterse constantemente a la lectura a primera vista de música contemporánea, ¿considera que aporta más a la formación de un músico percusionista enfrentarse constantemente a la interpretación de muchos y diversos materiales musicales en vez de trabajar una sola obra de repertorio por mucho tiempo? Okay, this is a big question.
Okay.
¿Qué pregunta, Juanca? Me va a tomar un toquecito traducirla, pero vamos a ver. So I'm gonna try to translate this. It's a really good question.
Okay.
So he says, hi everyone, thank you very much, Theodor. I agree that the focus of the music schools sometimes it's wrongly focused, and it comes from inside the academy, and he says that providing students with good and solid musical foundations should be a priority of any school, because the lack of these fundamental knowledge affects the musical comprehension of the interpretation that is being done in any instrument. In that sense, the school should be able to try and I forgot the word. Just a second. In that sense,
say it in Spanish.
Okay, deberían formar. They should be able to form.
Form.
Yeah.
To create.
To create, yes.
Sure.
The best musical, the best possible musician that they can, in top of just a simple formation as a percussionist. Taking that into account, it is this important reflection that you're doing. I have several comments and questions. First, do you consider that integral formation of the musician percussionist should be an occupation of the music schools in general, and not only of the departments of percussion? If so, what can be done from the percussion departments to modify the teaching and focus in developing those tools? For example, following your practice of constantly do sight reading of contemporary music, do you consider that it gives more to the formation of a musician percussionist to challenge himself constantly to the interpretation of those and more diverse materials, instead of just working on one work of the repertoire for a long time? Does that make sense? That was difficult.
Yeah, the last one is difficult, but yeah, I get it. But
should people work more on sight reading as a constant thing, more than just like one specific work?
sight reading is just a tool, and yes, nobody sight reads, especially in United States. It takes them like 3 months for one piece. They need 1.5 months to read the notes. And
Yeah,
they
that's
actually
true.
have a concept. They have a concept of how to memorize the notes, because they cannot read and play. So they go boom, 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 boom. Okay, so for them, in order to play, they have to memorize. You understand? But it's an extra topic that we can talk about it maybe later on. That it's certain thing that bothers me a lot, actually, and I always try to push it for people, like sight read, and nobody seems to, because it takes time. Nobody wants to do that. Nobody wants to spend time, because we need to do auditions and because we need to do competitions. That's why. But I don't agree with you that, well, not agree with you. You actually asked if it's more a school thing or as a teacher thing. Well, what about the students? My answer is this: there are thousands of books written about how to be a good teacher, but there is literally like 0 books about how to be a good student. Get up, put your ass up, and start doing stuff. You can't expect that. Okay, teach me. That doesn't work this way. Actually, it doesn't work this way. So every time we say about a good education system, every time we say about that school is has to be better organized. No. Go to Italy, man. Go to Italy. Are the schools organized? Oh no. Oh no. Do they have good facilities? Oh my God, no. Right? But they have some great players, because they want to. These particular guys, they want to. They want it too much. So not always the circumstances affect students. That not always. I lived my life. I played live my life. I until the age of 18, I haven't seen a 5-octave marimba. I went to a competition. I had to play Merlin. I didn't have marimba, so my marimba was until until La, and I learned all the passages, the big runs in Merlin. I had to learn them. I had to break them in the middle to start one octave higher, to reach a certain note, and then to go 1 octave lower to finish the passage. And I learned the whole piece like this. And when I went to the competition, I had to play it in the second round in Belgium. I had 15 minutes of practicing time on the marimba that they gave me. So I had to relearn the whole thing, the whole piece, the whole passages. I had to relearn that, to remember that, okay, I'm coming here, and then go play the whole passage. So circumstances, they're not always against the student, if you want, if the student really wants, and if there is a good teacher, of course. Yeah. So just really, we really have to say that it's a two-way game. Most of students, they expect that they come into a good institution, they pay a lot of money, that they're going to have good teachers, and in the end they're going to be good professionals. That's not the case at all. Another aspect I wanted to say, it's not about how to organize the schools, it's how to organize the education system. In Western world, there is no such thing as music education system. There is a thing which is called business education. Everything costs money. So when the kids are going to music schools, they're not provided with theory classes or ear training classes. I was lucky when I went to study to Germany. I knew harmony, and I had a diploma of harmony. I knew all of that stuff. So when I went to the first semester in a harmony class, and the teacher wrote something on the board, he actually wrote G sharp, B, D, B natural and a D. He said, "What's that?" None of the Germans could say what's that. They didn't know what a diminished chord is. Right? So but they were great players. No, we had some clarinet and violins, and they were great players for their age. Amazing. Because in Germany, they're not obliged to follow theory and harmony classes when they're children. Right? So they're focused a lot on playing. So they're they're playing notes. They don't see harmony behind the notes. You understand? So what I said in the beginning, a conceptual thing. It's exactly here. Here we start, because if a player sees pure notes and no harmony behind the notes, it's a blind player. But he's a good orchestra player, because you play everything perfectly. So here we come as whom do we want to produce in the end? Do we want to produce instrumentalists, which what's going on mainly nowadays, or we want to have artists? Of course, I think everybody's going to say we want artists, and every major school that respects itself say that we are producing artists. In fact, they don't. They don't. They produce very good instrumentalists, like very high-class instrumentalists, and there is a difference, right? So going back to your question, I'll say that it's a system thing. It's not school per school. It's a system. We need to provide to kids piano lessons at schools. We don't have piano lessons in schools anymore, in music schools. I don't see that. And if so, people have to pay extra money. I know here in Greece it's a tragedy. Families parents will bring their kids for cello lessons or violin lessons, and the kids then need to pay extra for piano lessons, extra for theory, extra for ear training. So if you don't teach kids how to listen, how to analyze scores when they are 10 or 11, how do you expect them to do that when they're 18, when they're already going to college? You expect them to start that in college? There is no time for that. They need to play repertoire. They need to play repertoire. They need to play, sorry, in orchestra, etc., etc., etc. So yeah. So it's a system thing. It's a systematic problem, I'll say, on one side, and on the other side, students. You need to be able to educate himself. You cannot expect everything from these music schools or teachers and say, yeah, they don't provide me this or they don't provide me that. Always just start walking and never stop. That's your task. If you really to have some results. So it's, as I said, it's a two-way thing. But the system seriously need to be. We need serious changes.
Yeah, I think his question went a little bit from another perspective. I think more the way I understood it might have been like right now schools like, well, context is really important, as you said. Schools here don't have the budgets or stuff like that to have, like, people studying music from school, middle school, all the way before. There's nothing like that. So I think that it goes more about, like, right now schools, what kind of things should they be they be working towards, right? Because one of his questions was like, should this musical context development fall only on the percussion department, or the whole school should do like a whole thing to make sure that everyone gets out there from there with all the tools, or maybe just like the capacity to find their own tools and make their journey with all the tools that they need. And then he asked, what can the percussion departments do to modify the teaching and focus on developing those tools? It was like three questions in one.
It sounds like sorry, I'm going to be very direct, but it sounds like politicians trying to find a solution. What the percussion departments should do. What do you mean? What? I mean, try to teach these things. That's simple. That's very simple. Try to teach it. Start teaching it. That's what we should, and that we should do. The thing is that nobody does it because they don't know it. That's a different thing. That's a different thing. We have too many. We have, like, everywhere, like in every field. If you notice nowadays, I don't know if you guys, if you have, but my observation in general in the world, in every field, there are too many mediocres. Like, everything is mediocre nowadays. You're buying some jeans, they're broken within 6 months. You put in new tires on the car, they tell you 60,000. No, after 30,000 is kind of already, everything is very, very mediocre lately. Like in the past 15 years, and nowadays it's horrible. It's like in every field. So I'll say yes, we have too many mediocre teachers. What can we do? But it's as I said, when you say about what can we do, it's more about. It sounds a bit like we're gonna gather. We're gonna gather on a how it's called, the platilla, on the plaza, and we're gonna say, we protest and we want this. No, it doesn't work this way. You actually need the teachers who are gonna teach these things, right? And in order to have these teachers, you need to have a system. That's it.
Yeah. It's sometimes the institutions are really like a politics game sometimes, and if they won't listen to you if you don't like walk there,
I think
we should do this.
I think it's mainly because as I said, it's a business, so they need to create an image, right? So they're putting so many words in things that means nothing. Like, we take care of your personality. No, you don't. How do you take care of my personality if I have half an hour per week lesson? How do you exactly take care of my personality there? I don't understand that. Or you know what I mean? So as I said, it's a system problem, and but we have to decide. At a certain point, we need to decide whom do we want to have as an outcome. As I said before, do we want to have a great instrumentalist who's going to play fantastically in auditions, like crystal clear and everything, and we can put them inside the orchestras. Or we want to create artists, right? Or we want to create contemporary musicians. Whom do you want? Whom are we creating? Because let's put it. Let's, if you want to talk seriously, in Europe, we have only one ensemble of contemporary music which is 100% sponsored by the, not sponsored, which is a government ensemble. It's Ensemble Intercontemporain in Paris. It was created by Boulez. Okay? It's a huge ensemble. It's like basically it's an orchestra, but it's an ensemble. And they're doing contemporary projects like, you know, every week concerts, you know, and different stuff. And they premiere, and they do with ballet, and they do all kind of stuff, major concert halls, whatever. And we have Ensemble Modern in Frankfurt, which is sponsored by the government, but it's private. Two of them in the whole Europe. Everything else, you know, it's people who gather together. They really want to play contemporary music. This is what they love, you know, and they're running around for funds. And they're lucky if they're finding funds for a couple of projects. So they're constantly running, right? And then we have orchestras that play in music which was written 300 years ago. And that's it. And we don't have new orchestras. We have only these, the ones that were created already. So we have too many people who want to go in these orchestras. Why? Because they're paying money. You know, we need to pay our rent, our electricity, our water, our food. You know, if we have families, right? So it's not easy that way. So whom do we create? Of course, we create orchestra players. Of course, we're creating instrumentalists, because these guys, they're even going to tell you, I want to be an orchestra player. Not because they really want to, but if everybody wants that, they're also going to want that, because they don't see any other possibilities, right? So again, it's a conceptual thing, it's a systematic problem. You know, if we don't create contemporary ensembles, and they're not, you know, with salaries, people will never try and do so, because of course Beethoven and Mozart, it's forever, you know. Nobody wants to play some contemporary stuff that it's written today, and you actually have to practice 12 hours a day to play two notes there, because it's so impossible that, you know, right? Nobody wants to do that. You know, everybody wants to play Mozart. I'm not saying that Mozart is easy, right? But in the last 300 years, they already find a way how to do that. Fingerings, bowings, intonations. They even have exercises for this particular excerpt. You know, everything's been figured out, but not contemporary music. Nobody wants to do that because it takes time, it takes energy, right? And plus, there is no money in there. So, that's true. so as I said, that's systematic problem, right? So it's a big thing. It's a big thing. It's not only about one department doing something in the school.
Okay, I'm gonna try to translate this the best as I can.
Good luck, man.
This was a lot.
I don't hear you, man.
Perdón,
No.
sí, ya. Eran varias preguntas. Juan Carlos nos manda una aclaración que, bueno, creo que él no se entendió muy bien lo que él quería preguntar, y andamos por otro lado, que no era una cuestión más de lo político en lo absoluto, pero todo bien porque comparte bastante de lo que se ha dicho. Entonces, partiendo de que tuvimos un pequeño error aquí en la comunicación, él menciona que la forma de ver esto hay que verlo como una calle de dos sentidos. O sea, hay un montón de libros sobre cómo ser buen profesor, pero no hay libros sobre cómo ser un buen estudiante. Entonces él menciona que hay que preguntarse uno cómo puede ser uno un mejor estudiante para mejorar, pues, para mejorar uno como estudiante, para lograr lo que uno quiere. Entonces él empieza a comentar sobre, por ejemplo, la situación en Italia, donde no necesariamente hay lugares bien organizados y escuelas que no están bien organizadas, pero que aún así sacan músicos increíbles porque los estudiantes quieren lograr las cosas, ¿verdad? Entonces, esto es una cuestión de tomar como responsabilidad personal también a nivel del estudiante de no simplemente llegar donde un profesor esperando que le enseñe todo y le resuelva la vida, ¿verdad? Este, entonces ahí empezamos a irnos como por otro camino y se nos embarrialó la cancha un poco. este, pero entonces el resumen más o menos es de que hay un problema sistemático en donde no se promueve, por ejemplo, el estudio de música contemporánea porque no deja dinero y que entonces la gente no quiere estudiar esas cosas y entonces también pasa mucho el hecho de que existe una gran mediocridad tanto en profesores como en estudiantes y que como eso también se trae abajo cualquier posible avance y desarrollo, ¿verdad? Entonces es más como que no hay que ser mediocres tanto como los profesores como los estudiantes, porque eso se trae abajo cualquier posibilidad de progreso. Esto es un resumen enorme de todo lo que dijo, porque en realidad no tengo forma de traducir palabra por palabra todo lo que se dijo. Pero va a quedar por ahí la transcripción si todo sale bien y logro ponerlas después en los subtítulos en la edición. Pueden en la versión editada de esta conversación van a poder tener ahí lo que se dijo palabra por palabra. Um, okay. So we already been talking for around an hour and a half. So we didn't talk about how much we were gonna last. So I'm kind of afraid that
I
it's
have
later.
time. Everybody are asleep, so I'm just in my basement.
Oh,
Man.
okay.
I have time.
So we
Well,
might have a couple of minutes.
Yeah, we can have like a half an hour to 35 minutes because it's like in half an hour it's 12 and I need to get up at 7, for my kids to school and stuff, so.
Okay, so
But we can have usually like half an hour, sure, yeah.
okay, so we'll do a little bit. Let's see if there's some other questions, and
Yeah.
if not, we can just start winding down everything. Okay, tenemos como unos 20 minutos más o menos restantes, entonces si tienen alguna pregunta, este es el momento de mandarlas, y lo que le voy a pedir al invitado de hoy es que nos cuente un poquito más de su espacio para él, pues como hacemos en los demás conversatorios, ¿verdad? Que le damos el espacio para que sepan cómo contactarlo y todas así. So while people have the chance to ask a question, we're going to take this time for you to tell us a little bit about how can we get in touch with you, lessons and stuff like that, right? So if you want to take this time to tell us a little bit about that side of things.
To promote one, to
Exactly.
promote my job.
To promote yourself. Exactly.
Yeah, okay, good. Well, yeah, about my for the past 2 years in the COVID time, I developed the online lessons. Of course, Zoom came out, and we all wanted to be in touch, and I kind of invested in that. So we are in my studio right now. You see my studio. You don't see many things like my mics and and everything, and I have like 3-4 cameras here. And yeah, I start teaching online, so it's pretty successful. I have students. I have stable students. I'm doing clinics. I'm doing like my own clinics that I advertise, and also for schools. Like I've been doing for like last season, it was like UCLA and London Academy of Music, Royal Academy of Music. But of course, I went there for in live teachings as well, and so it's going very well. If anybody is interested, I have I'm doing online. You can find that on my website on thmilkov.com/online lessons. There are different packages. There are single lessons. There are monthly. There is I call it a training, which is a very nice one. It's an unlimited package per month, and there is also a new feature of daily feedbacks. It's when you just send me short clips, and I'm answering to you with clips. That it's not real. Ask some questions. So this is my online thing. Feel free to ask.
Okay. Entonces, bueno, él está comentando que él da clases en línea ahora con toda esta cuestión de Zoom. Entonces, si lo quieren buscar, so can you repeat the website?
Yeah,
thmilkov.com?
.com. Yeah, you want I can write that if you
Yeah,
that.
can you set it in the chat?
I'm gonna type that in the chat. Yeah.
Sí, entonces él va a enviar ahí la dirección de la página de él donde pueden coordinar con él clases en línea, y también ver sus distintos programas de entrenamiento que él tiene. Puedo comentarles que tener clases con él es muy interesante. Tuve el chance de tener varias con él hace un tiempo, y les recomiendo que si tienen el chance, pues reciban una clase con él. Entonces pueden consultar por medio de esa página, y si tienen preguntas sobre sobre su forma de entrenamiento, una cosa así, pueden hacerla en este momento y ponerle un mensaje y mandarle una pregunta. We do have some messages on Facebook Live, so let me just check those real quick. We have people saying hi. We have, let's see, we have Jaime Svart sending his saying hi. Bismarck Fernandez as well, saying
Bismarck.
hi. We also have Melvin Mora sending hi. Gracias a todos los que se conectan por Facebook Live. All right, those are the messages we have from there. It seems we don't have any more questions. Creo que no tenemos más preguntas, porque entonces si no tenemos más preguntas pasamos al cierre. Díganme si tienen alguna pregunta, algún saludo para Theodor, si no, para poder dejarlo ir a dormir porque ya es bastante tarde en Grecia. So I think there are no more questions for the time being. We do have some topics that we might have to talk about later at some time. Would be interesting to talk about those things. We skipped competitions and we skipped reworking processes and in percussion development and stuff like that. I'm gonna ask the people one thing. Entonces quería ver si era posible para las personas que están ahorita aquí en la llamada de Zoom, si es posible que pusieran la cámara para tomarnos una foto al final de la sesión de hoy, para que nosotros poder ponerlas en las redes sociales. Pero entonces vamos a pasar ya hacia el final, donde le vamos a pedir un mensaje de despedida al invitado, y quería ver si era posible que nos tomemos una foto y pongan las cámaras para que salgamos todos por ahí. No están obligados, pero sería bonito si pueden. Entonces, so I was asking them that if we can take a picture once we're done for today, so they can turn on the camera and so everyone can see themselves. Because we don't have any more questions, and you have to sleep, so I'm gonna ask you to give us a final message to everyone.
I mean, we can have like half an hour if you wanna. If you have some topics of your own, we still have half an hour. We can.
Well, I do have some extra questions.
Let's do that. I mean, I'm here anyway, so
okay.
Have great time. Why not?
Awesome. So I wanted to talk about burnout, because this is a big topic. Especially since COVID times and everyone was like, living inside and like there's nothing else to do and people get burned out really easily. So I just wanted to know your perspective on dealing with burnout, and if you have seen the effects of burnout in your students or even in yourself.
No, I've never been burned out, because actually if you burn out, you cannot go back. It's a severe injury in your brain that going back 100% recovery, I think it's not. I've read it somewhere. It's just like you're all after if you burn out once, then you need to, like, seriously, and you're hospitalized and everything. Then after that, you will be very careful on your work. So I've known people, some composers who had this burnout, and then the recovery was very painful. They basically had to stop working for 1 or maybe 2 years, and after that, slowly they could start going to their work again. I mean, do what they were doing before, and still it's not 100% capacity of what they were doing before. So they will be always careful, like working with an hour basically. I can do only 20 minutes, and then I need to rest for an hour, and then again 20 minutes, right? So it's if you mean getting super tired during a project or something, and yes and no, because my organism works in a way that I recover pretty fast, and if I feel that I'm on my limits, I just stop working.
Mm.
So it's my character that I will never like push myself to the point where I cannot do anything, because it's pointless. It's better, it's better to take a pause, sleep for half an hour, and keep practicing rather than just go for it. So I will always, and since I know that I need me personally, I need like 9 hours sleep. So whenever I'm traveling, and I'm not home, and basically the clinics and everything I do are abroad. They're not in the concerts. They're not in Greece. So when I travel, I make sure that I always sleep 9 hours. So even after the concert, when they say, "Hey Theo, let's go to eat and drink, blah blah blah," I always say stay until a certain time, and then I say, I need to sleep, because I know that next morning I will be trash, and if this happens, it's not that I cannot work, but I will be very angry.
Mm-hmm.
I have this thing that if I not sleep enough, I'm just an angry person on everybody. I don't want to have that, so I get up, I go earlier from the dinner table or whatever, from the party, and I always sleep, because next morning we have either I'm teaching or rehearsing, So knowing that, I know that in 9 hours I will recover.
Mm.
Right? So I haven't have any students with this experience. Never actually.
Mm.
Never any of my. I mean, I don't teach much, of course, but even my college students, when we were studying, I don't remember anybody going burnout. Like super tired, yes. Depression, yes. Depression, yes. I've seen a lot of depressed people. I had a certain depressive moments that it started there, and I was lucky enough to realize that, because most of people, they don't realize that they're getting depressed, and I've seen some very bad, very very bad situations, which are very dangerous actually, but never burnout, never burnout.
Ok. Le habíamos preguntado sobre el síndrome de quemado o burnout, ¿verdad? Él menciona que, bueno, él personalmente no lo ha experimentado, que sus estudiantes tal vez no lo han experimentado. Sí ha visto casos de compositores, colegas de él que sí lo han experimentado, y ha sido una cuestión terrible que les ha costado mucho salir de eso, ¿verdad? También que sí ha visto muchos casos de personas con depresión, que eso pues lo ha visto, y él mismo ha estado en situaciones donde ha estado a punto de caer en cuestiones de depresión. De lo que él menciona se puede sacar que es muy importante estar consciente de cómo nos estamos sintiendo, porque él menciona que, por ejemplo, si él sobre sentirse muy cansado, si él cuando está estudiando ya él ve que se está sintiendo muy cansado, él se detiene y no hace más hasta que se vuelva a recuperar. Y que incluso él mantiene un horario de dormir muy estricto, porque si él no logra ese horario, se vuelve una persona muy enojada, y eso a él no le gusta, ¿verdad? Entonces, estoy seguro que todos podemos caer en eso de que cuando no dormimos pasamos de mal humor mucho rato, ¿verdad? Y que, pues sí, hay que estar muy conscientes de cómo nos estamos sintiendo, porque, bueno, el burnout es una cuestión muy seria que puede llegar a afectar de forma muy grande a todos nosotros si no tenemos mucho cuidado a la hora de tratarlo, ¿verdad? Ok, si tienen, ya se nos va acabando un poquito el tiempo, entonces si tienen alguna pregunta, ya sea por acá o por Facebook Live, entonces nos las mandan. Eh, Okay, I do have a couple of questions now that going back to one of the previous questions. Um, so we talk about how we shouldn't just gather in a plaza and demand change. Uh, so I wanted to know your opinion on uh, what are the characteristics of a good teacher and a good student.
Characteristics.
So, what makes a student a good student, and what makes a teacher a good teacher?
Uh, a good, I mean, it's you know, it's so philosophical. I don't know. A good student, a good teacher. Primarily, a good teacher is the one who wants to share his knowledge. I say that because I've seen and I have experienced many teachers who didn't want to share. That had happened to me, and they were very big. They were very big names actually. It's like very big names. So I had some. In general, I counted once. I think I had like 17 or 18 teachers in general through my student time. You know, starting from my father and going to until I finished in 2009. And yeah, you know, there different people. Yeah, so primarily is the person who wants to share his knowledge, and is a person who wants to support the students.
Mm.
And a third one that not everybody have that. It's when you don't treat them as students. You see, the thing is that I always thought as a student, and I still believe that if you can do it, I can do it. You understand? It's just a matter of knowledge. I need the knowledge in order to know what to do. But if you can do that timpani tremolo, I can do that timpani tremolo too. And this person can do that too, right? So we want the knowledge, and we're going to do that. So me as a teacher, I go with the same paradigm. I say, okay, if I can do that, if I can do paradiddles with one hand in tempo 300, you should be able to do that. So, I mean, there's absolutely no question about that, right? So I'm giving you the knowledge and I'm giving you the support for you to grow, you know, because eventually I want to have great professionals around me. Going in the beginning of our discussion, right? I really want to see great professionals around me. I don't want to see people who are worse than me, like mediocres, what I said in the beginning. I want them to be better than me, you know. So not all teachers have the strength and the, I don't want to say wisdom, but the inner strength to treat students equal to themselves. It doesn't mean that they're your friends. It doesn't mean that they're professionally as professional as you are. But the potential is there. So if the potential is there, you need to support that. Otherwise, these pure people that when they're 18, they're afraid of everything, you know, and plus you treat them like you're the god and they are the, you know, the nobodies who are, maybe if they're lucky someday they're going to be able to do something, you know. That's already a wrong start right there. Mm-hmm. For me personally. So yeah, and students, yeah, a wanderer. You need to wonder. You need to ask questions. Ask questions, man. Ask questions. Ask questions. I was a horrible student for most of my teachers, because I always will ask questions, because they will go, we hold the mallet like this, and we go boom, and I go, why? Like, why here? Like, why there? Like, explain yourself. Like, well, because this is how we do it here. I said, no, that's not an answer. Or this is our tradition. We play here like this. Boom. That's not an answer. Tradition is 80 years ago. Some guy who didn't have a teacher, he found everything himself, did something. His students repeated 100 times, and now you come and you say that this is a tradition. We're in the 21st century. No, explain to me why this is this. And okay, you tell me that boom is wrong, but beam is correct. Why? I need to know. I literally need to know, because tomorrow I will have to teach it. Firstly, and secondly, I need to play. So I need to know 100% of what I'm doing. So I was a horrible student. For many teachers, we had, but many teachers didn't like me at all. So, and then if I will see that this teacher couldn't give me the answers simply because he didn't know them, no, he stopped being my teacher at that point. There is no point for that. So gain knowledge. For students, always ask questions to gain knowledge, because knowledge, it's what's been said. Knowledge will set you free, and that's absolutely true. The more you know, the more tools you have for yourself to grow. And I have to say, it's not because I want to brag about myself or whatever, but it's an enormous freedom when you know what you're doing, and enormous freedom when you can choose. You don't play this way because that's the only way you can, but you play this way because you've chosen to do so in this particular moment, for this particular piece. That feeling, it's just priceless. And you get this feeling, if you have knowledge, and then you're practicing together with this knowledge, and you grow, and then you make variations on that, and so on and so on. So yeah, for students, always ask questions, and don't expect that they will teach you. No, that's the wrong mentality, that you're in school and you expect that they're going to teach you. You have to gain this knowledge. So even if the teacher, sometimes they don't want to share it with you, sometimes they don't know how. They tell you one thing, then you go to the orchestra, to the rehearsal, to the concert, and you watch it and say, that's not what you taught me. No, that happened a lot. That's not it. And then you go to the lesson and say, I saw you doing that, and say, no, you saw wrong. No, I didn't see wrong. I saw you do that. So go observe. Observe. And your job as a student is to steal their knowledge, basically, because they just don't know how to give it to you. Most of them. Some people, and even if they want to, sometimes they don't know how to put it in words, or how to analyze what they have in mind, and how to create simple exercises for you to get it. Understand? So observe. Try to observe as much as you can, and to steal the knowledge from them. That's your job, basically, as a student. I don't know if it makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense.
Okay,
yeah.
good.
Bueno, la pregunta era sobre qué hace a un profesor, un buen profesor, y qué hace a un estudiante, un buen estudiante, ¿verdad? Entonces, él dice que un buen profesor comparte su conocimiento. Espérense, porque voy a tener que fijarme en la traducción, porque fueron muchas cosas, pero fueron 3 puntos muy importantes. Vamos a ver. Vamos a ver. Ok, sí, un buen profesor es uno que comparte su conocimiento. Y 14:38, vamos a ver. Ah, ok. Entonces, una persona que comparte su conocimiento, una persona que apoya a sus estudiantes y que la tercera es que no los trata solamente como estudiantes, ¿verdad? Sino que son personas que son que con sus particularidades, ¿verdad? Y que es importante también estar consciente de eso. Él dice que muchas personas no cumplen con esa tercera con ese tercer punto, ¿verdad? Porque hay gente hay ciertos profesores en todo el mundo que algunos se pueden creer como por encima de sus estudiantes, entonces que eso como que se atraviesa en el proceso, ¿verdad? Del aprendizaje. Y que cuando usted encuentra un profesor que cumple con estas cuestiones es pues una buena opción, ¿verdad? Que esté abierto a compartir su conocimiento, que los apoye en las cosas que está haciendo y que no solamente los trate como estudiantes, ¿verdad? Sino que también comprenda que son personas, ¿verdad? ¿Y cómo se vuelve uno un muy buen estudiante? Él dice que haciendo preguntas, cansando a sus profes con las preguntas. Él dice que en el caso de él llegaba y le decían, bueno, es que esto se hace así, y él preguntaba, ¿por qué? Y que a él no le bastaba la respuesta de que es que esto es tradición o porque es que así se toca aquí, ¿verdad? Él necesitaba saber el por qué eso se hace así, ¿verdad? Y que en el caso de que un profesor pues, no quisiera explicar esas cosas o simplemente no supiera por qué hace las cosas, entonces él probablemente iba a buscar otro profesor, ¿verdad? En ese momento. Que dice que la tarea de uno como estudiante es de prácticamente robarse el conocimiento del profesor. Y a veces hay profesores que tienen esas ganas de hacer eso, digamos, de darles a ustedes ese conocimiento, de compartirlo con ustedes, pero no pueden o no tienen la forma de hacerlo, no encuentran la forma. Entonces ahí es donde ustedes tienen que, por ejemplo, irlos a ver tocar, irlos a ver dar clases a otras personas, ¿verdad? Irlos a ver desarrollándose en su carrera, ¿verdad? Porque el aprendizaje no solamente se da de decirle a uno es que esto se hace así, sino que también pues está el aprendizaje visual de ver a alguien cómo hace las cosas y descifrar los mecanismos que se utilizan para hacer las cosas como se hacen, ¿verdad? Entonces es un intercambio al final del día entre el profesor y el estudiante en el que si un profesor que comparte su conocimiento, que apoya a sus estudiantes y que los trata como no solamente sus estudiantes, sino como personas, se encuentra un estudiante que está ávido de querer o ávida de querer aprender más, de preguntar todo, ¿verdad? Porque quiere entender mejor las cosas y que está dispuesto o dispuesta a abrirse a entender más cosas y a aprender más cosas, pues es la mejor opción que se pueda encontrar, ¿verdad? Entonces, ese es como el resumen de esta pregunta. Muy bien, esa sería, creo que si no tenemos preguntas por acá en el chat, no. Ni tenemos preguntas en el Facebook Live, que me voy a ir a fijar. Vamos a ver. Creo que estaríamos llegando al final, sí. No tenemos más preguntas por ahí. All right. So, yeah, that is going to be the last question for the day. So, thank you very much, Theo. And maybe if you can leave us with a final piece of advice for everyone that is listening to us
Wow.
right now.
Okay. So first the question and then the advice, or first the advice and then the...
First advice, and then and then we end the.
And then we end advice. Yeah. Oh man, I don't know. Again, so philosophical. You know, I can advice. I think for whom? For students or for in general?
In general.
Yeah, in general, I think it's like in the stage that I am, and that I understood a couple of things right now, lately. I'll say, you know, try to understand who you are and what do you want to achieve, and just start going that direction, no matter what, and never lie to yourself. Don't try to understand logically of who you are, who you might be, or who would you like to be. Sit down in your room and by yourself, and listen to your soul and to your heart, and you'll get the answer. You will get the answer, and just start do the things that you love. That's it, and your life gonna change. Your life gonna be great. That's I always say that. Not always, but I do say that to some students that I have. It seems to be a difficult concept for many people. It's a difficult thing to understand, but give it a thought. Give it a thought. Try to understand who you are. That's the most important thing, I think.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Entonces, el último comentario que nos deja el invitado de hoy es, la pregunta era, ¿qué consejo nos puede dejar? Y dice que traten de entender quiénes son y qué quieren lograr. Y que solamente al empezar a ir esa dirección, no importa hacia dónde sea, nunca se mientan. Porque si se mienten, pues no van a ser sinceros con ustedes mismos. Entonces, no traten de entender lógicamente quiénes son, o quién podrían ser, o quién les interesaría ser, qué tipo de persona quieren llegar a ser. En su cuarto, enciérrense y pónganse a pensar, escúchense a ustedes mismos, a su corazón, y van a encontrar la respuesta que están buscando. Empiecen a hacer las cosas que aman, y su vida va a empezar a cambiar. ¿Va a ser eso fácil o genial todo el tiempo? No siempre, pero él dice que él lo hace, ¿verdad? Entonces, dice que también a veces eso es un concepto un poco difícil para la gente de entender, pero me parece que es muy importante que, ya esto lo digo yo desde mi parte, que saquen el tiempo para pensar qué es lo que quieren lograr con lo que están haciendo, hacia dónde quieren llegar ustedes como profesionales, como personas. Y creo que es una pregunta que siempre se tienen que hacer, sin importar el nivel de su carrera donde estén, porque él todavía se las hace, ¿verdad? Y él ya no es un estudiante, o tal vez todavía es un estudiante, pero su carrera profesional está en un lugar diferente que el de muchos de nosotros, y es importante que siempre en cada paso nos hagamos esas preguntas. Entonces, con eso terminamos el día de hoy, agradeciéndoles a todos y a cada uno de ustedes su presencia en este conversatorio. Sé que no han habido más conversatorios tan constantemente, pero hoy es una ocasión especial y probablemente vamos a poder tener el chance de tener otro próximamente. Muchísimas gracias a todos por el apoyo, muchísimas gracias al invitado por su tiempo, ¿verdad? Y déjennos sus comentarios, ya sea en Facebook o en Instagram. Si no le han dado like a la página de Facebook y seguir a la página de Instagram Percusión Costa Rica, ahí pueden encontrarla y estar pendientes de más anuncios, de más contenido. Y este conversatorio va a estar disponible en YouTube también próximamente, una vez que lo edite. Entonces, agradecerles a ustedes, y ahora voy a agradecerle al invitado por acompañarnos. So, thank you very much, Theo, for your time and your knowledge, and taking the time of the night to speak with us. And I hope you had a great time. And I'm sure the people that were watching live with us, and the people that are going to watch this after the fact, are going to be really grateful to you as well for the time that you have given us today.
Thank you very much for this invitation. It was great. Very honored, what can I say, Thank you for this. Thank you.
Awesome. Muchas gracias a todos por acompañarnos. Que pasen muy buenas tardes.